Hello, this is the video description for Riatta Alvarez. He is a secondary character in Bovarkey. He's going to be one of the lead detectives for the Taurus agency, or Taurus's agency to take over the world. So he is a former extortionist, professional spy. He has plenty of experience in tactical training. He's one of the most proficient spies and killers in the world. He has excellent combat skills in addition to high intelligence and the ability to infiltrate many different agencies using different aliases and disguises in order to serve Taurus by taking down anyone who seeks to threaten his reign. Now, this here is a bit of illustrations done for an episode. I believe the episode name that it will eventually be called is it was going to be about, or the episode was going to be about effectively stealing from small towns. Um, the only episode where Taurus said he was going to be a rule breaker rather than a rule maker. Effectively, he would commit criminal acts rather than attempting to conquer areas and become to make some type of state or government. He would become a rule breaker, effectively. And he would rely on quick attacks and retreating quickly before anyone would be capable of catching him. And this strategy was very successful up until he and his team were about to descend on a small town, when suddenly the entire town below them was ripped to nothingness by a massive explosion. Shortly after seeing this massive explosion, it was revealed to him over the cell phone by Riatta Alvarez, his lead detective, telling him that if Alvarez hadn't intervened, the explosion would have happened a minute later when he was on the ground, and his Taurus and his entire team would have been obliterated. So Riatta Alvarez reveals that he had been working with a group of people who were plotting to kill Taurus the entire time. They had studied his attacks on small towns and had mapped them out in a way that would allow them to make a strike against him. And they predicted his next location accurately, and it was only because Riatta Alvarez had set in place a protective measure that detonates the explosive a minute early before they wanted to, that Taurus had his life saved that day. And while he's making this call, he's still in the room full of spies who are, or spies and assassins who are attempting to take out Taurus. In fact, there's 4 other people in the room with him and 2 security guards. It's a small facility, but a highly effective one that was doing long-range telecommunication and had evacuated the town earlier that day in an effort to blow up the town and kill Taurus and all of his men with it. So, he makes the call from inside the small office in front of all of the people he's betraying actively. And of course, he had stayed on the same side the entire time, but he had infiltrated in order to sabotage their assassination attempt. And he was successful in that regard. He made the call right in front of them, openly discussing that there was an anonymous millionaire who had set up a go-between, someone who had little actual experience or skill to offer the team, but someone who could simply organize people and be the person who could connect them with the funds needed to plant massive explosives, clear out small towns, pay off everyone, in order to keep the secret, so that massive attacks like this could be organized. So he makes the call right in front, calling Taurus and telling Taurus and his men that he was the one who saved their lives. And after that, he hangs up the phone after telling Taurus that he doesn't know the identity of the attempted killer. But after he hangs up the phone, the people in the room with him stand there for a moment looking at him, shocked that he had just revealed his identity and everything he had done right in front of them. Then, using his tactical training and intelligence, he pulls out his firearm and throws a chair at the only person he believes could be a legitimate threat to him in a gunfight. Throwing a chair to the gentleman in the small panel on the left there. This keeps him distracted enough by making him have to block the chair rather than allowing it to injure him as he's attempting to draw his firearm. In the meantime, he shoots and kills the man in the small right panel who is sitting at his desk, the man in the small center panel who is standing, killing each of them before they had an opportunity to even point their weapons at him, although one of them had managed to draw in time. And then after the man who he considered the only real tactical threat, the only person with the experience needed to actually beat him, and who probably could have beaten him if it had just been drawing and firing in an open space, he turns to that person, and just as he is pushing the chair out of the way and has his gun up ready to fire, Riatta Alvarez takes a shot and kills him. And the only person left inside the room with him is an unarmed tech support agent, someone who had a decent amount of experience and knowledge, but who Riatta Alvarez had surveyed before and, based on his observations, knew didn't have a weapon at the time. He had ducked down under a desk, so Riatta Alvarez grabs him, pulls him up, and pins his arm behind his back. Then he straps a bulletproof vest onto him and uses him as a human shield. The room they were sitting in had armor on the door. In fact, the entire room was armored to make it more difficult for anyone to attempt to kill any of them. However, it doesn't really end up working to their advantage. He uses the tech support, or not tech support rather, but he uses the tech agent as a human shield. Opening the door, the two security guards who had heard the gunshots were already pointing firearms in their direction. And the human shield takes the bullets to his bulletproof vest. The vest saves his life, but he's still injured by the gunshots. And Riatta Alvarez, using the shield, is able to easily kill the two guards out in front. Then he throws the injured tech agent down to the ground and simply walks out of the facility, having saved Taurus's life and incapacitated most of the people who had been trying to assassinate him, and would have done so if he hadn't gotten involved. So that's going to be a scene that I think is really cool. Is going to be really well polished in the end. It's something that one of the things that I think is most likely to get animated out of all of the stuff I make, because it's cool. It's something that's very interesting, I think, and it shows that that Taurus does have competent people working for him. And while there's going to be a lot of mistakes made in Bovarkey, and Taurus is going to do a lot of counterintuitive actions in his effort to take over the world, it's going to show that he still does have very competent people working for him that do have a legitimate chance to succeed. And I think by the end of the show, well, I don't think it'll ever show it in the show itself, but I think at the end of the day, Taurus will succeed. At least that's the canon I'm going to be sticking with, is that Taurus is never going to be stopped. He will take over the world, and he will become the new king of it. And it's going to be through the effort of people like this, Riatta Alvarez, people who are skilled in Taurus. At the end of the day, he does know how to get people who are good at their jobs. He can find those people. So this is going to be one of those cases where it's going to be Taurus winning. It's going to be him actually succeeding in one of his goals. Now, of course, this particular case is more like overcoming a setback, but it's still a necessary setback. So, and of course, he's going to have people attempting to stop him if he tries to rob repeatedly. So this is going to be a neat little clip, a neat segment of an episode that I think is going to be one of the best parts of the show, one of the best parts. So I hope you enjoyed watching this here. Let me know if you have any feedback. He's going to be a secondary character. He's going to be in multiple episodes. He won't be a main character necessarily, but he's going to have multiple opportunities to shine. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be happy to make